Well, let's go straight to that top story. Casino operator the Star Entertainment Group is on the brink of collapse, putting 8,000 jobs in New South Wales and Queensland at risk. The board was unable to finalise the Star's half-yearly accounts today, forcing the company to enter an emergency trading halt. The Star says the management team are continuing to explore liquidity solutions, and there's material uncertainty as to the group's ability to continue as a going concern. Now, the Star did resume trading around midday today. You can see it was sold off heavily, shedding 15.4%. The shares are now 11 cents each. And Business Editor Ross Greenwood's with me. Ross, you've been working the phones today. What have you been hearing?
Yeah, well, there's been plenty to hear about this. So this is quite unprecedented what's taking place. A company clearly is on the brink of insolvency, and yet it's desperately trying to survive. Now, the point is earlier on, those shares were put in the trading halt, as you said. Now, the whole point about what then takes place afterwards is if they didn't produce the results by the end of today, the shares on Monday go into suspension until they produce them. Well, the interesting part about this is the shares this afternoon started trading again, which was really unusual because remember that in this particular case, the board itself, if there is anything which they're not telling the shareholders, they may be personally liable. That's a really important thing, given it was the board that decided that the shares could go back and retrade. Now, the other factor about this is also what happens next. And I'm kind of interested in this. So the one thing I do know is we've heard about Oaktree. Yep. Oaktree could put in, what, $650 million?
$650 million potentially to buy the Star's assets. But it doesn't include a key thing, does it, Ross?
No, this is the important aspect of this because what Oaktree, as we understand it, want is that they want the rights over the property on which the Star Casino in Sydney sits. Now, the point is that my understanding of it is that there is no way known that the New South Wales government will give that up easily. In fact, the New South Wales government, in my understanding, would allow the Star to go into insolvency and then deal with the administrators. Now, there's a whole lot of issues here because the Star is quite clearly not only operating in New South Wales, but also in Queensland. And so, Ed, the real issue here is there are two state governments, but there's going to be no federal government bailout like there was, say, for the Whyalla Steelworks.
Whyalla Steelworks was a sexy bailout, wasn't it?
No, it was a sexy bailout politically. This is not such a sexy bailout. But that still leaves 8,000 staff who, if it does go into administration, might end up back on the federal government's coin anyway under those wages guarantee scheme that the government's got. So it really is a very difficult thing. But the New South Wales government, as I understand it, will only deal with anybody once it's in administration, not beforehand, and it will not easily give up the land on which that Sydney casino sits.
And obviously, if it is in administration, it can still operate. Gaming can still happen. It can still operate as a hotel.
That's right, as a hotel and as a gaming operator, if there is somebody to actually manage it. That's the key. The administrator, I understand, will get an exemption to be able to run the gaming floors until there's a sale. But the fact of the matter is that anybody who walks in would have to be properly qualified in the eyes of the gaming regulator in New South Wales, Philip Crawford, to be able to be successfully able to do it. Now, one last thing about this. Anybody who were to take on the Star right now would also have to consider there's a massive fine or penalty coming from Austrac for breaches of anti-money laundering procedures. That could be as much as $400 million. Now, the question is whether somebody wants to come in, take over Star and pay that, or whether you're far better off to just simply let it go into administration. Time will come, but it's a very key issue right now for the future of the Star and whether it survives or not in its current form.
Ross, thanks for being a special guest with us today.
That's good.